One mic.
All I need is one mic.
What's the name of the show?
One mic with Big Mike.
You know, ain't nobody getting hurt, ain't nobody, there's no crime being committed.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
This is real life stuff that's happened to me.
Well, you know what?
You, and you.
One mic with Big Mike.
I like to be able to do what I want to do.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limits.
Meek Mill's concert is not called the Hell Yeah, I Banged Khloe Kardashian concert.
And now, your host,
Put your hands together for the one, the only
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic.
Welcome into a Thursday, a throwback Thursday edition of One Mic with Big Mike. How you guys doing? Didn't get a chance to holler at you guys yesterday. I just didn't. Not gonna give any excuse or start getting into my business, but didn't get a chance to talk yesterday. So we're gonna get into this thing today. I'm being heard on Spreaker.com. Don't forget, tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about the app as well. It's available for your iPhone, your Android, or your Windows device. Just type in the name of the show, the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE. Use that handle for Spreaker and for Twitter and Instagram. Once you follow me on Spreaker, go ahead and once you get to Spreaker, go ahead and create your own free account and follow my show. And then once you do that, you can jump on in the interactive chat room with me every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Just click the little thought bubble at the bottom. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. The show can also be heard and downloaded and all those good things on SoundCloud and YouTube as well. So I'm trying to widen the horizons, make sure I'm everywhere you are. Speaking of being everywhere you are, I'm also, next week, the goal is, fingers crossed, the goal is to do a video stream of the show. I don't know how interesting it's going to be. It'll just be a dude sitting in a chair talking in a microphone. But yeah, whatever. Like I said, I'm just trying to make the show as interactive because I think you can chat on the stream situation as well. But I would prefer you just kind of keep it to the Spreaker so I don't have to become more of an octopus than I already am, dealing with, everything that's going on and trying to disseminate. Is that the word I'm looking for? Trying to get you guys correct information and, entertain you somewhat at the same time. Also, speaking of next week, but before I get to next week, tonight at 7:30, for a couple of minutes, my guy Branson Wright from the Cleveland Plain Dealer. You guys can follow him on Instagram and Twitter at BransonWright. He'll be joining me to talk a little bit about everyone's favorite irrelevant quarterback, Johnny Manziel, and what the future may see for him. Like I said, I only got a couple minutes with him, so I'm going to try to get in and get out and get as much information out of him as I can. And if we don't get everything out today, maybe we have him back tomorrow. We don't have those kind of rules around here. I don't. I do what I want to. It's my damn show. I do what I want to. But next week, Tuesday, the plan is to have one of the coldest point guards, definitely of my generation, the coldest college point guards of my generation, Kenny Anderson, is set to join us on Tuesday. So I'm excited about that. I honestly am. You know what I mean? So yeah, got a bunch of big things popping off. As far as today's show go, of course, after we get through talking to Branson Wright, we'll do our daily look back, and it's kind of a special one today. I learned some stuff today that I want to kind of share with you guys on this Throwback Thursday. If you guys check out my post on Instagram at the number one MICWITHBIGMIKE, you see I do some little sports factoids on every Thursday, even going above and beyond our daily look back on this day, and in doing so, I learned a little bit today. So I want to share what I learned with you guys. Locally, the Falcons are taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Huge game for the Atlanta Falcons this weekend, or this Sunday, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down at Raymond James Stadium, as a matter of fact. Roddy and the boys say they're ready, or they said they would be ready. So we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that today. The Hawks lose a tough one last night. DeMar Carroll was back in town. I definitely want to get into what happened last night, forcing me to watch that. Moving on, the world of the NFL. we've got some things to get into as far as Commissioner Goodell and people, like this whole crazy, stupid conversation now that everybody's having. Like everybody wants to do the same thing every day. You see, I mentioned it and it's done. You know, until it's fixed. Like no one knows what a catch is anymore. Because let me show you this video that wasn't a touchdown and this one that was a touchdown. And you see that all day, every day. You feel like these referees are just these bums off the street. That's not the case. And I know if something like the Giants and Odell Beckham here in Atlanta, the situation with Devontae Freeman ended up not hurting the Falcons, but you know, it could have turned out a lot worse for them than it actually did. I know if we're talking about your favorite team, it's the worst thing in the history of life. But in reality, not so much. You know what I mean? At this point, it is what it is. Like I say, until they fix it, it is what it is. So we'll talk about, you know, Commissioner Goodell, as my guy Jim Murray calls him, the Ginger Hammer, and his plans to move past this situation. And surprise, Tom Brady's crying about. Speaking of Jim Murray, he's a big New England Patriots fan. Yeah, Tom Brady's crying about something, and I'll tell you what it is a little bit later when we get to our NFL portion of the show. The NBA still rocking and rolling. Well, Steph Curry and the Warriors are still rocking and rolling. That boy went down to Charlotte last night and dropped a 40 bomb on them kids in three quarters. So there's that. That damn golly, that mother. We haven't really got a chance to talk about the Jahlil Okafor thing, and it's kind of, I guess, hit its crescendo today. So we're at the end of this bout, I guess, unless something else happens. Something good happened in South Africa. I was watching. I don't know if you guys watch Vice, but Vice did this special report, and it was on HIV and AIDS and how we, like as a world, as a society as a whole, may be one generation away from an HIV/AIDS free population. It's an outstanding piece, and they do great work. They're the ones who went into the penitentiary with President Obama and did the piece on the mass incarceration that we're seeing in this country, or that we see and experience in this country, especially amongst minorities, black and brown people. And then they came back and did this thing about the HIV, and it is astonishing what science is doing with this disease. I remember was I in 11th or 12th? I was in 12th grade, and y'all gonna laugh. All right, there was this group called. Well, you might not laugh because you don't know me that well. There's this group called the TAG group, or just TAG, the Teen Abstinency Group, and me and my homie, we get in. It was a sham. Like not the purpose of it, but like the people who were in it. Like my ex-girlfriend was in it. She was like pregnant as hell in the abstinency group. You know what I mean? And then me and my boy was in there, and we were like trying to knock down anything moving. So it was just weird. But one of the ill things that came out of that, I actually met a guy who had I think he had AIDS at the time. Yeah, I don't think he was HIV positive. I think he actually had AIDS. And he came and spoke to us because he was young. They didn't want to bring in someone that was around our age, but kind of still in that group, because he might have been like 26 or something like that. And it was so eye-opening, just meeting him and getting like real information from this guy. And not, it was cool that nobody was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is gross, which would probably happen now. If somebody did that in the school, parents would probably be writing letters and all this foolishness. But even in the mid 90s, man, it was just like we asked questions. I remember I asked them, I was like, I asked them if you and another person with the same disease have unprotected sex, would it just kind of like cancel out, just be like, a wash or whatnot? Like you wouldn't get any sicker? And he was like, no, that's definitely not the case. And he explained how like person A's strain of HIV or AIDS is custom to them. And then the other person's is custom to them. So it would be like you like reinfecting yourself almost. You know what I mean? So I'm always wondering like what happened to that guy. You know, and not always, but every time I hear a story about, you know, the developments and the medications, I always wonder what happened to him, because the way he found out was crazy. Like he got locked up for something minor that he was just kind of in like waiting bail, and they came around. It was like, you know, it was either like blood draws or people were allowed to give blood or something of that nature. And, you know, just to get out of his cell, he was like, yeah, bet anything to get out of this damn cell. And he took his blood. And I think a couple of days later, or how many ever, I don't know if it was days or weeks or whatever later, they just came back and like threw some paperwork in his cell and walked away. He was like, there was no counseling. There was no like, you know, no one there to, you know, to educate him on what was going on. He just looks at this thing. It says he's HIV positive. And it's like, damn. Like that was like one of the coldest things I'd ever heard in life. And like I'm just this little 17-year-old punk that's, you know, like I say, running around trying to put my you know, put somebody's daughter on their back every chance I get. And then you hear something like that, and it's like, oh God, this is, man, dude. Like, and you figure at the time, and it's like 94. You know what I mean? So you thinking like, man, this dude gonna die. Like the developments weren't there then. So it's just weird. But anyway, that was on Vice. But anyway, the reason that came to my mind is because I was saying something good happened in South Africa. And on this show, they talked about how the highest percentage per capita of AIDS carriers or HIV carriers are in South Africa. It's like, golly, it's like as if apartheid wasn't bad enough. You know what I mean? It's like, I always look at this, not always. I keep saying that for some reason, but every time like Blood Diamonds on TV, I look at it with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jaimin Hunsu, and he said something in that movie. He was like, you know, God has cursed this place. You know, God has never been here, or something to that nature, man. And you hear stuff like that, and you see the kind of stuff that goes on over there with some civil wars and all this kind of stuff. You know, you kind of wonder, like, if you're the person who like believes in all the God stuff and all that stuff, you got to wonder, man, like, really, man, what the hell is going on? But anyway, something good to me happened in South Africa, and we'll talk about that later. But to start the conversation, I guess I already did with the whole meeting a kid with AIDS type stuff. But to start the conversation, I wanted to talk about greatness. The title of this episode is "If Everything is Great, Then Nothing Is," right? And I got that from one of my good buddies, Alec Campbell. He'll be a part of the afternoon drive team on 99.7 in Raleigh. I think it's in Raleigh, North Carolina, ESPN radio. So you guys are ever traveling through Raleigh, or if you're in Raleigh now, check him out. You know what I mean? He's a good dude. A little ornery, as you can tell by this statement, but he's right. If everything is good or everything is great, and nothing is, you know, because you have nothing to compare it to. And the reason I bring that up is because of all this stuff that's going on around Kobe Bryant. Sports, if nothing else, is a haven for hyperbole. I heard the other day, Dan Patrick was he was about to talk to the kid Christian McCaffrey. His first name is Christian, right? The running back for Stanford. And if you don't know, his dad is Ed McCaffrey. He's a former wide receiver in the NFL for the Denver Broncos. And I think that's the only team he ever played for. But Dan says, yeah, his dad was a great wide receiver for the Broncos. Wait a minute. You know, like Steve Largent was a great wide receiver. Jerry Rice was a great wide receiver. Randy Moss, great wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like, that means you're in the upper echelon of whatever it is I'm talking about once I attach great to it. And I've had this conversation when I had a co-host on my previous show, The Sports Kings. Rob and I had this huge, I don't want to say we didn't fall out. It was just this I guess huge debate. You know, as it pertains to great. He's a big time Georgia fan, University of Georgia. And we were talking about Mark Wright. Mark Richt is a great coach. I was like, wait, hold on, what makes him great? You know what I mean? Like, where are we setting that bar? Like, before we go any further, let's set where that great bar is. You know what I mean? Because he, in fact, is in a conference, and this is the argument I'm making, with guys like Steve Spurrier, with guys like Les Miles. At the time, I think Urban Meyer was still around here. Guys like Nick Saban. It's like, all right, like, if I put this on the SAT, on one of those standard tests, and I would say which one of these things don't belong, yeah, that thing would be Mark Richt. But for whatever reason, if you like a person or if you like something, you'll lower the standard of what great is to somewhere around good. And if that person's already good or that thing is already good, you'll lower that standard to fair and call fair good. Women do it all the time. Or, I don't know, maybe men too, in relationships. You do it all the time. Right? You wonder why a woman will take a dude back that cheated on him. But I mean, because he's a good guy. He's a good man. Now, would you have said that previous to meeting him or previous to having that relationship with him? Like, if I said, okay, the next dude that you're with, is going to cheat on you just once. What? Hell no. Until it happens. Then you change your perspective. You change what good or great is based on your circumstances. And we do that in sports way too much. Kobe Bryant announced he was going to retire, right? And this has been, unless you've been living under a rock or in a cave or wherever, you know this. But now the weirdness is happening. People are getting really, really, like, intensely weird about this dude retiring. Like, the other day, I was messing with former UGA quarterback DJ Shockley. I asked him, I was like, yo, young Jeezy's going to be at the Phillips Arena. You're not going to the game? He's like, nah, but that Lakers game going to be on Friday. I'm going to go check that out. I was like, what? Who is running to see bad basketball? Like, no one loves watching Kobe Bryant play more than me, right? But this ain't that. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go down there and see nothing that resembles Kobe Bryant. You know how I learned this? I learned this as a kid. When Michael Jordan put on that blue uniform, allegedly, this happened. Someone allegedly said it happened. If you ask me, it was just a nightmare that I had, and everyone else knows about it. But anyway, when that allegedly happened, you saw glimmers. Like, Kobe had 31 last night, right? He shot like 10 for 24 or something like that. Yeah, he had 4 threes. All right, cool. You saw glimmers of it, but that ain't, like, now what's happening to you is your reality of what Kobe Bryant is. Kobe Bryant has scored 81 points in a real life professional basketball game. 81 points. You think you're still seeing that, and you're not. Like, if Kobe go for 40 tonight, I don't care. You know why? Because it's not gonna look like Kobe Bryant scored 40. Like, it's gonna look like I don't know, Antoine Jameson scored 40. Like, Antoine Jameson got like 3 or 4 50-point games. Does anybody care? Yeah, I'll hang up and listen. You understand? So this I call it the bubble. You put your favorite athletes, people here do it, and are still doing it with, like, Michael Vick. You put him in that bubble. You know what I mean? And you want him to remain that way. You think the bubble's going to preserve him, and he's going to always be that guy. So anytime Michael Vick started for the Steelers earlier this year, oh, God, Twitter was going crazy. I think he completed like 4 passes or something crazy like that. You know what I mean? Like, what you once saw is what you once saw. Those are memories. So when I tell you I'm not trying to sit down and watch Kobe Bryant play basketball. Now, see, I say that, and then now I'll be forced to, because they play the Hawks on Friday, and because I need to be able to talk about the Hawks on this particular program, I got to watch the Hawks play basketball. I got to watch Kobe Bryant play basketball. I don't want to see that. I'm going to tell y'all something real personal, right? And some of y'all probably going to think I'm a worse guy than I am. I'm a pretty bad guy, but this might make me seem even worse. The fact that my grandma died a few years ago, right? One of the strongest women ever to grace this planet, right? And she went on vacation, And at the end of her vacation, her body was like, yeah, we're not going to get no better than this. Let's go ahead and call it a life. And she bounced. You feel me? And, they had the funeral. They had it here, which was surprising. I don't know why, but they had it here. But most of my family's up north, but they had the funeral here, and I ain't go. And I was like, I'm not trying to see my grandma in no box, cuz. You know what I mean? I just saw her before she went on the vacation. Walking, talking, she wasn't hooked up to no tubes and sick and all that kind of stuff. She was the same, obviously not the same woman. She was older, but nah, we was having regular conversation. Her mind was still about her. And I'm not trying to see her in no box with some dude that made her up and all this kind of stuff. Nah, I ain't going for that. And I ain't trying to be around a bunch of folks showing out either. You know what I mean? Like, my mom was cool because my dad was with her. So, she was taken care of. Like, if it came down to that situation where I had to go see about my mom, I would have went. Feel me? But my dad was there. My dad is her man, not me. You feel me? So I feel, and I know this is kind of morbid, but I feel that way about athletes. To say, I got to see Kobe one last time. I've already seen Kobe for the last time, the real Kobe. Just like I saw the real Michael Jordan when he hit that shot in Brian, don't call me Byron Russell's face. That was it. It was done. In the scene where they do the thing. Scene. It was over. But then he came back and people thought it was going to be that thing again because he was in that bubble. They put him in that. They put Michael Jordan in that bubble. And then he had a 35-point game, just like Kobe did last night, right? But then there was that 8-point game. Oh, yeah. That 8-point game that he didn't finish, not because he was injured, because he was hurting. He's in pain. It's like, come on, I'm not trying to see that because I'm that's not me, So the other day, Kobe, who were they playing the other day? Doesn't matter. They were playing something. The Wizards, maybe? Yeah, the Wizards. And before the game, he's gripping everybody up, hugging them. Some dude runs out of the crowd just so he can touch Kobe. First of all, my man, yeah, that's some B stuff. All the way live. If I'm going to keep it all the way live, yeah, that's some female stuff. You trying to go touch a dude? Come on, my man. Come on, man. Where are we at? Like in the world, where are we at? What position are we in where that's a thing? And then secondly, how the hell did he even get that close? You know what I mean? Like, he got up on him before people went and grabbed him and escorted him out. Luckily this wasn't some crazy, because I'm going to say this. For everything that whatever people might want to think about Michael Vick, that's over, man. It's done. That whole dogfighting thing, as far as anybody knows, it's done. But to imagine one of these wacko Peter people jumping out the crowd and getting that close to Mike Vick, like, that turns out bad. You know what I mean? And Kobe's record isn't clean either, by the way. Remember the Colorado situation? And people act like they don't forget. And maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. But if you're in a situation where you don't forget and then you want to hurt people, well, now we got a problem. You feel me? These two Italian dudes. Yeah. These two Italian dudes apparently just used up all their money, bought a plane a couple nights ago. Not bought a plane. What am I talking about? They bought plane tickets, I'm sorry, to Philadelphia to see Kobe go back home. And, I guess that's, in thinking about it, it's the game that you can probably get tickets to because it's Philly, and the good chance that team's so bad, they're like, both teams, are so bad. It's like, I don't give a damn who it is. It's like me, right? It could be God. Suiting up in number, 0 for the Sixers. I'm still not going. The team is that bad. But these dudes did. But the thing is, they spent all their money for the tickets, the plane ticket and the ticket to the game. Lost their jobs and didn't have nowhere to stay when they got here. It can't be that serious. And you know who don't care? Kobe. He doesn't care at all. I would assume it's flattering, but you gotta go home and like you in the bed with your old lady. It's like, man, you heard what them dumbass fools did? It's like, no. Talk about asking people, can they stay with them? Look, if you crazy enough to do that, you can't stay in my house. If that's where you're at mentally, stop. Stop. Here's the other thing I thought about today. Like people were trying to say, talk about, was it Kobe and Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning's going out in a terrible, like a dust storm of just terribleness. You know what I mean? The fact that Kobe's just on the court makes his exit like 20 times better than what Peyton Manning's going through. Like he's going out they're both going out in an embarrassing way. In a more embarrassing way, because he don't even get the chance to be on the court and have that moment that Kobe had last night. Just one of those days where Peyton Manning becomes Peyton Manning again. He throws for like 4 touchdowns. It's like 330 yards. And it's like, oh my God, Peyton still has it. Because some fools are thinking that about Kobe. The whole thing today about, what if he shouldn't retire? You're an idiot. Yeah, it was Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser. You're idiots. It was probably a whole ESPN thing. The more I think about it, because that's the type of stuff they do. They're on this mission to make you guys as dumb as possible, and most of you are obliging. You're falling right in there to it. That's real sports talk right there. Did you hear what Stephen A. said this morning? My answer is always no. There's no reason for me to. It's something with a lot of big words in it, and he said it very loudly, and probably stuff he didn't believe in. I'm good. I got the whole stick down. But anyway, I thought Kobe Bryant he's Brett Favre. Remember how bad this Brett Favre looked at the end? Like he had all those records, and one of the most infamous records was like the interception record. Well, Kobe's about to set a record this year for the lowest shooting percentage ever. Yeah, in ever, Jerry, in ever. It says Bryant's on pace for the worst field goal percentage in 55 years. That wouldn't be ever. Sorry. In 55 years. He is currently shooting 30.1% from the floor. Only Woody Salisbury had a worse percentage with a 29.9% mark in the 1960-61 season for the, cover your ears, Hawks fans, the St. Louis Hawks. Oh, God. The Hawks just can't get out their own way when it comes to me giving bad news. Here's the crazy thing, though. Like, they're young dudes. Maybe Kobe can play it now that I think about it, because these young dudes, Emmanuel Mudiay, he's shooting 32.1%. You go right ahead, sir. Kemba Walker in 2011 and 2012, he shot 36.6%. Kemba Walker got it given to him last night, too. Hoo-wee. That Steph Curry thing got so real on Kemba. He was out there cussing at his teammate one time. The ball went loose, and they kicked it out to Steph Curry in the corner. That dude stood in the paint. I swear to you, if you didn't see this happen, he stood in the paint and just dejectedly just looked at him like, God, I know he's going to hit it. And, of course, he did. Like, those three, especially that corner three, that's a layup, big. That's a 3-point layup, cuz, to number 30 right now. So, yeah. This is where Kobe's at, man. And if you want to spend, like, they are actually jacking up prices to see this dude. Like, this isn't like seeing, like, Jay-Z at the Garden for the last time. He's still gonna bring it, right? He gonna bring out a bunch of, like, Mary J is gonna come out, and Method Man, and new artists are gonna come out, and Kanye is gonna be there. It's gonna be amazing. This definitely ain't that. You feel me? This Kobe thing definitely ain't that. You're going to watch bad basketball every time, and for a premium price. Good luck, people. Good luck. Just understand what greatness is and what it isn't. Kobe was great. Now, nah. Ugh. This is One Mic with Big Mike. Being heard on Spreaker.com and the Spreaker app. Don't forget to follow me on Spreaker, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at the number 1, MICWITHBIGMIKE. I'm also on Facebook.com, /ONE, MICWITHBIGMIKE. When I get back, we'll spend a few minutes with my guy, Branson Wright from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, talking about Johnny Manziel.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews. Actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Radio, TV, and even the press say what's the meaning of VAPORS. The meaning of this word, without no doubt, means nobody wanna be down when you're down and out. Now when you're established and got a lot of money, everybody wanna be your buddy and honey. Like tall buildings, they call skyscrapers. And you feel it.
Yeah. On this Throwback Thursday right here on One Mic with Big Mike. Of course, I am Big Mike. Being heard on Spreaker.com and the Spreaker app. You guys go ahead and share that information with your friends. If you're looking for my show, just type in the number 1, MIC, WITHBIGMIKE. Use that as well for Twitter and Instagram. When you sign up for your free Spreaker account, just go ahead and click the little thought bubble at the bottom when I'm broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. And guess what? You guys can get in on the conversation via my interactive chat room. And next week on Monday, guess what? We're going to try to do a video stream, a live video stream while we broadcast the show. Well, while I keep saying we because I'm used to doing a tandem type thing, but while I broadcast the show, we try to video stream it as well. I tested it out a little bit last night and tested it out a little bit today. So we're gonna, try to rock that out, become a little bit more interactive if I can. Also next week, Tuesday, one of the bombest college point guards ever to grace the hardwoods, a product of the New York basketball system. I think Kenny's from the Bronx. I got to read his bio. I think he's from the Bronx, though. Kenny Anderson. He's got a new documentary out or coming out. See, I got to get up on all the information. It's either out or coming out. Clothing line. I think he's coaching high school basketball again, man. So a lot of stuff to talk to Kenny Anderson about on Tuesday, man. Was scheduled to speak with Branson Wright from the Cleveland Plain Dealer before, I told you guys before the break, but he's having a personal, I don't call it an issue, but he's got something personal to take care of. And I didn't want to, he said he had a couple minutes to do it, but I didn't want to pull him away from what he needed to get done. So what we decided to do is next week, more likely Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But at some point next week, we'll sit down with him and talk about the situation up in Cleveland. Because, look, it's not going nowhere. It's going to be what it is, especially after this week. This kid, Austin Davis, is going to get the start for the Cleveland Browns. And Johnny Manziel will be backing him up. A lot of people felt like Johnny Manziel was going to get the start this week because Mike Pettin didn't necessarily close the door on it based on the things that happened. And that's really why I wanted to talk to Branson, because he's informed. So I want to know from him what he's hearing in that neck of the woods, outside of the ESPN national media thing. If this kid really just lied to his coaches and tried to get his boys to lie for him and say this was an old video, like they couldn't authenticate it. Like, y'all, here's the thing. Y'all gonna keep playing or stop playing with TMZ like it's a game or it's a joke. Like, remember TMZ used to be like the punchline. Oh, that's that TMZ type stuff. Yeah, until they start beating everybody for every story, right? Yeah, stop playing. It's real, and when they say it happened, you can pretty much put your money on it. 9 times out of 10 that it happened the way they said. So since we're not gonna talk to Branson today, I'll go ahead and jump on into our daily look back on this day. And like I said, it's a little bit. Well, it's kind of like yesterday. An additional conversation linked to on this day.
Now, let's take a look back. On this day.
All right. On this day in 1933, Connie Mack sells Mickey Cochran to the Detroit Tigers for $100,000. You know what? I misread this earlier. I thought it said that he sold him the Detroit Tigers. He sold a player. He sold a human being to the team for $100,000. And in 1933, I wonder what I don't know if you guys watch the History Channel a lot, but they always have this show on called The Men That Made America, about like Carnegie, what's the other guy's name? The dude that did that they put on the Monopoly game. What's the name of that bank? Morgan. There's 4 dudes that pretty much ran America for like years and decades. Anyway, they always put like, he paid this much for this company, which would be $2 billion today. Like, I wonder what $100,000 in 1933 would be today. Somebody smarter than me is probably listening to this and they know the answer. If you do, like I say, click the little thought bubble at the bottom and jump on in the chat room and give me that information. Also in 1933, and we'll extend this one when on this day is over, Joe, the Midnight Express, Lillard, he quarterbacks the Chicago Cardinals, amongst other things. But his claim to fame is that he was the last black guy to play in the NFL until 1946. So between the time that Joe Lillard was done and 1946, the NFL was all white. Imagine that. Imagine when they saw Jim Brown. It was like, wait a minute, can we go back to the way things were? Oh boy, racism is funny. On this day in 1950, speaking of the Cleveland Browns, they were the last team with a no-pass game. They beat Philadelphia 13-7. Yeah, that means they didn't pass the ball one time, and they were the last team to ever do that. It almost happened here in Atlanta a few years ago, as a matter of fact. When the Carolina Panthers came down here with Chris Winkie, I think he threw the ball like 4 times in that ball. And they came down here and pretty much ran like the wing T or something like the wishbone and beat the Falcons. My Falcons fan. I get so much joy out of just reminding you of the terribleness that happened here so many times. Also in 1950, the Cleveland Browns, Horace Gillum, he set the club record with 12 punts in a ball game. On this day in 1956, Wilt Chamberlain was the first collegiate basketball player in his first collegiate basketball game. He scored 52 points. Wilt is still this kid in LSU. Like, now I'm kind of paying attention because there's certain kids to watch, like the kid Valentine up in Michigan State, this kid in LSU. There are a few kids. Oh, this kid in Texas that's like jumping from the 3-point line, booming on people. I don't even know his name, but he gave somebody the business last night. But yeah, this kid had like 43 points last night. Like the first kid from LSU since Shaq. You remember those Shaquille O'Neal LSU teams? Stanley Roberts, Chris Jackson, which is another one of those cold point guards. It's like I got 3. It's like Chris Jackson, in no particular order, Kenny Anderson, and Jason Kidd. 3 coldest college point guards I've ever seen with my eyes. And if anybody ever says Bobby Hurley to me, I'm gonna jump through your speakers and beat you with something. Okay? On this day in 1967, continuing with On This Day. On this day in 1967, Derek Clayton, he runs a world record marathon in, I guess it's 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 36.4 seconds. Again, if my guy Rob Calloway was here, he'd be able to tell me like if this is one of those records that's still standing today, or one of these Kenyan dudes ran in like 15 minutes and this record is totally obsolete. But I don't know. I don't run. Like, I probably won't even run if you chase me. Like, if I think I can whoop your ass, I'm not running, because then if I run and then I get tired, you might get me. I'll just take my chance, dealing you up. And if I got my tool with me, well, it's game over. On this day in 1968, the pitcher's mound, it dropped from 15 inches to 10 inches. And the strike zone was reduced from knees to shoulders to top of the knees to the armpits. So they shrunk the strike zone and lowered the mound. I wonder what that does when you lower the mound. I would assume it takes away your ability to generate velocity if you're throwing from a place that's lower, because you're not throwing like downward. I don't know. On this day in 1982, Tommy Hitman Hearns, he won the WBC welterweight title in a decision over Benitez. On this day in 1994, the third SEC championship game took place, and guess what? It was Florida who beat. I think this was I thought it was a Tim Tebow team. This is 1994. This is Danny Werfel, maybe 1994. They beat that Alabama team 24-23. I left this in here because, of course, this weekend we have our championship Saturday in college football. And, of course, it is the Florida Gators taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And a lot of people, no one's giving this Florida team a chance. But like I said yesterday, Alabama has been known to put that thing on the ground, and give up a couple points special teams wise. So, that's why they play the game. Ooh. On this day in 1997, the Golden State Warriors guard Latrell Sprewell, his 4-year, $32 million contract was terminated for attacking. It doesn't say choking, but yeah, choking his coach at the time, PJ Carlesimo. And finally, in 2004, shout out to to DJ Shockley. I don't know why I just looked up and saw something on TV and said AJ Green. To DJ Shockley, who won for the University of Georgia, who was ranked number 13. He won the 14th ever SEC championship game against LSU, 34-14. We were just talking about this on Monday when we had him on the show. So yeah, shout out to him. I left this in for a good reason. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is the first portion in English of On This Day. I want to tell you guys, I told you guys on this day in 1933, Joe Midnight Express Lillard, who was the quarterback of the Chicago Cardinals at the time, he was the last black man to play NFL football until 1946. And this article was pretty long, but I was like, I need to know more. Like, I have to know about this. This is outstanding, because the headline just says he's the last black man to play football. And I was like, wait a minute. It's like a typo. What's happening here? Because obviously, he couldn't have been. He couldn't have been, because, of course, there are plenty of Negroes in the National Football League right now. Now, you know what's going to be terrible? The fact that I didn't even save the article. Yeah, that's going to be terrible. Oh, no. Here it is. Yeah. I'm smarter than the average bear, I guess. All right. So here's the it's full of so many ironies. You're going to hear about the initial owner of the Washington Redskins. No, I'm not going to say the Washington R's or the team in Washington. I saw the other day, I saw a commercial for a Native American commercial, not the one with the kid rapping on it, but there's another one. It's more succinct and more pertinent, I think. And it talks about the number, how low the number is of Native American kids that are in colleges and universities. And they're saying, yeah, support this cause. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been saying that for forever. Like, damn that football team. You know what I mean? It is what it is. He's rich and white and feels like no one can tell him nothing. All right, stop with that part of it. But you know what Native Americans really need? Drug and alcohol counseling, better education, those type of things. Yeah. How about you march? If you're going to march and you want to protest that. Have the president chip in on that. He wanted like President Obama was like, we're not going to give you this land. We're not going to sell you this land to build your stadium on because of the name of your team. Meanwhile, back on the reservation, and this ain't no racial slur because they still have Indians on reservations. And it's weird, too. They're allowed to, like, have pretty much their own law. I was out watching. It was a special on like a lot of the problems that they have, like poverty, and now they have like gang stuff going on, and the fact that when a kid might get in trouble, and if he's running from the police, he knows exactly where like the county line is, and he'll stop because the reservation jails ain't nothing. So they won't go into someone else's jurisdiction where they have to go like to a normal jail. They go to the reservations jail, and they don't have the same legal system as we have. It's really interesting, and I don't want to misrepresent it by continuing to talk. But I was watching it. I think it was on like Nat Geo or something. But yeah, it was weird. So anyway, he's in the story. His name is Preston Marshall. Right. Let's see what I have here. Okay, so this guy, Joe Lillard, was born in Tulsa, the son of a coal miner and a housekeeper. Pretty standard stuff for the day, right? He ended up moving in, or his parents ended up dying. He ended up moving to, I don't know, Arkansas maybe, or Minnesota with some family members. He couldn't get into college after high school because he had some grade situations. I can relate. But I found this interesting that, he started playing like club football after high school and playing a bunch of other sports as well. And he was also an original member of the Savoy Big Five. You say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, that was the team that inevitably became the Harlem Globetrotters. I don't know how many of you know this, but the Harlem Globetrotters weren't founded in Harlem. They were like founded in Chicago, but because Harlem at the time, it it was synonymous with black. So it was just cooler to call them the Harlem Globetrotters, and everyone knew immediately coming through the door that this was a black thing, He ended up paying his way to go to the University of Oregon, who, by the way, were called the Webfoots, the Oregon Webfoots, before they were called the Ducks. So he got there at the time. I don't know if you guys know this either, but you had a freshman team. Freshmen couldn't play varsity. Freshmen in the varsity team, like high school. So he gets to the freshman team and just starts going on. He's like 6 foot, 185. This is like 1930, so you can assume that's a pretty decent sized guy in 1930. So he's up there, he's going off. They start calling him in the papers, Smiling Joe Lillard, God's colored gift to Oregon. That's a quote too. God's colored gift to Oregon. So then in 1931, he ends up on the varsity. But then, tell me if this sounds familiar. They start investigating him because beforehand, like I said, he was playing a lot of other sports, but he's playing Negro League baseball as well, and apparently was being paid, kind of like Deion Sanders was. Like years and years later, Deion Sanders did the same thing, right? Went and played for the Yankees in the offseason and made not a bunch of money, but made some money, got some signing bonus money, and he always tells these stories about giving money away to his teammates, whatever, who couldn't eat and all this kind of stuff. Well, back in the day, they decided they were going to go ahead and investigate this kid. Even though white players were actually allowed to do it. Kind of like we know you're doing it, but we're not going to say nothing. They played baseball for money in the off season, and they had what was labeled as a quote unquote gentleman's agreement throughout the PCC that allowed white kids to hold semi-pro summer jobs. But according to the College Football Historical Society report, it wasn't on the books, thus never proven. Tell me if you've heard that one before. So anyway, he he ends up, they end up talking about this movie called The Spirit of Notre Dame. Probably too young. It was a big hit or whatever. But a bunch of the Notre Dame players got paid like $10 a day to be in this, right? But because it didn't have anything to do with sports, like athletics, I should say, it wasn't anything that was going to affect, their amateurism, that word, right? So anyway, moving on in the story, it's so amazing. Inevitably, Lillard was ruled ineligible. He ends up going off and again playing like semi-pro ball and while playing baseball in the Negro leagues. And then the Chicago Cardinals saw him. They saw him play, and at the time it was like, I don't know, what does it say? Yeah, like 2 black people in the NFL. He was like the other one. And they picked him up, and this dude did everything. He played quarterback, tailback, he kicked, he was a punt returner, he was a DB. At one point, he scored like more than half of the team's points the entire season. Even though he wasn't a good kicker, whatever, you better than the ones we got, I guess was the attitude. So he did that. But then going back to the guy I mentioned earlier, and then here's the other thing too, he didn't take no crap. Like this article actually contrasts him to Jackie Robinson. Like he didn't have that. Like you messed with him, it's gonna be a situation. And the white dudes didn't like it. Even the white dudes on his team, they wouldn't block for him and just let the other team come in and just pummel him. And the referees would ignore it. Like they'd be like killing this dude, like not literally killing him, but they would be like, tearing him up. And the referees wouldn't say anything. It was like acceptable until like he started knocking some heads and knocking some guys out. Speaking of getting knocked out, he got his ass knocked out with a cheap shot in one of the games as well. But until he started they started kicking him out the games and stuff. The Pirates, Ray Kemp, who was the only other black NFL player in the 1933 season, he called him a quote unquote an angry young man. Well, probably, and like it's like, Ray, if you're not, I don't think the problem is with Mr. Lillard. The problem is probably with you. And I understand that whole passive thing that was going on back then, but like it's only so much somebody can like be beating on you and hitting on you before you don't get pissed off, man. That's why I got so much respect for what happened, during the civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff, man. Some of that ignorant, I'm almost cursed, that ignorant stuff that happened to those people, and they just took it. Yeah, just like, look, that ends up being all about respect. But so anyway, yeah, he ended up going to the Brooklyn Eagles, right? In a different pro league. And he just started like verbally bashing people. Like, look, this is some bull. The way these dudes are just allowed to just beat on me and do all this stuff to me. And, no one heard it. So there was this kind of underlying situation. Some white dude, I don't know his name, but anyway, he came into the league and became a star. So at that point, the owners were like, well, okay, we got our guy. So, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of all the darkies. We don't need them anymore. This dude is exciting. He'll come and he'll be a draw, and there'll probably be more after him, right? So kind of systematically, they went ahead and got rid of all the African-American players. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to see where. I think 1941 was the last year until the end of World War II that we saw, or not we, I wasn't alive, that people saw a black face in professional football. Like that's one of the weirdest things. If you want to see a picture of him, go to my Instagram. It's the number 1 MICWITHBIGMIKE, one Mike with Big Mike. Go to my Instagram. There's a picture of him actually running the football, leather helmet, no face mask type deal. And they describe him as this amazing athlete, man. And, he just, you know, the way of the world back then. And the ironic part of it is, again, the guy who headed up this whole movement to segregate football is the guy who in 2015 we're talking about his team, the Redskins, being racist. Yeah, Marshall, right? George Preston Marshall. He was a determined segregationist who wouldn't integrate his team until 1962. And that was only because the Kennedy administration forced him to. The president of the country had to make this dude put black people on his team. I don't know how many Native Americans know that part of the story, that the dude who started the team was a racist, actually. Because I don't keep up with the whole change the name type thing, because inevitably, and it's sad to say it. Well, I don't know if it's sad to say it, but the reality is no one really cares. Like, people act like they do. The president and all these people act like they do, and all these people who are on their high horses and they can't say the name of the team. Like, for whatever reason, they can't say Washington Redskins because apparently context is dead, right? Because me saying the name of a team, even if it is or is considered to be degrading or an insult, me saying, yeah, you going to the Redskins game today? Turn it to the Redskins game or whatever. In that context, is the same thing as me calling you that. Of course it's not, right? Of course, any idiot knows that that's not the case. But apparently, again, context is dead. You know, everyone is offended. This is what I was talking to Guy Torrey about the other day. Like, everyone is offended by something, and they feel like they have to be. You know, it's like it's your job to be offended by something, and if you're not, you're dead. Well, I guess I'm dead, because stuff like that just can't faze me. You know what fazes me? Because in all these cases, you know, with Michael Brown and Trayvon and all these things, you know what never happened? Well, what I never heard was happening. This kid in Baltimore, Ferguson, the N-word never came out. These kids are just dead. They just gone, man. So the word is the word, whatever, man. But the actions, you know what I mean? Like, call me what you want to, cuz. It's like when D.L. Hughley was talking about, what was that, Tom Sawyer? The Huckleberry Finn movie, book or whatever, that they decided what they were going to do is they were going to take all the N-words out and replace it with slave. And what D.L. Hughley say? He's like, hold on, cuz. You know, I'll be an N-word all day long, because that means I'm going home. If I'm a slave, I got to stay with you. Exactly. Feel me? It's just words, man. Speaking of, I look at this show called The Nightly Show with Larry, what is his name? Black guy, nerdy dude, funny as hell. He can be funny. He's kind of corny, but corny funny. And apparently in Texas, in all the textbooks in Texas, say that fast, the textbooks in Texas, the plan is to remove every reference to things like slavery and the the Klan, and they just take them out of the textbooks. And this is what I've always warned people about. When people want to get all mad about flags and all this kind of stuff, understand that you want to start changing the name of bridges and schools. That stuff is a part of history, and by trying to erase it, you're trying to act like they never happened. No. All that stuff is real, cuz. That white man who that bridge is named after, you know what he is? He's a racist. That flag that represents people fighting to the death to continue slavery, it happened. You know what I mean? You're not going to erase it, man. It's like baseball and steroids. It happened, because if Barry Bonds, guess what? I'm going to talk about Barry Bonds a little bit later on the show as well. If he had a Hall of Fame career on steroids, so be it, because it happened. Your Hall of Fame is a museum. You can't just erase the history that you're uncomfortable with. It's stupid. I'm talking to black people and white people. No. But again, everybody's offended by something, right? It's One Mic with Big Mike. 1 hour down, 1 to go, right here on Spreaker.com and the Spreaker app. Make sure you download that. Follow me on Twitter Instagram, and follow me on Spreaker as well at the number 1 MICWITHBIG MIKE. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL, some NBA stuff. Like I said, Barry Branson is in my notes. Got an hour to get through it. Hopefully you'll be here with me.
You must have thrown 1,000 pitches teaching him to hit a home run. Spent countless Saturdays running routes so he could learn to hit an open receiver. Endless afternoons teaching him how to hit the three-pointer. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit? Teaching boys that all violence against women is wrong is one of the most important things a man can do. Learn how to start the conversation at teachearly.org. Brought to you by Futures Without Violence and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So of course we all know there's lots of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. But here's the thing. This problem is entirely solvable. Seriously, we already produce more than enough healthy, nutritious food in this country to feed every single last one of those hungry kids. We just need a way to get it to them. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is out there every day gathering surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families all across the country. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're Feeding America.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
One mic.
All I need is one mic.
What's the name of the show?
One mic with Big Mike.
You know, ain't nobody getting hurt, ain't nobody, there's no crime being committed.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
This is real life stuff that's happened to me.
Well, you know what?
You, and you.
One mic with Big Mike.
I like to be able to do what I want to do.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limits.
Meek Mill's concert is not called the Hell Yeah I Bang Khloe Kardashian concert.
And now, your host.
Put your hands together for the one, the only
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic.
One mic with Big Mike right here on Spreaker.com. I, of course, am Big Mike. You can also get the show via the app, the Spreaker app for your Windows, your Apple, or your Android device. Also, find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. My Twitter and my Instagram are the number 1 MICWITHBIG MIKE. And my Facebook is facebook.com/ONE MICWITHBIG MIKE. I got my YouTube situation popping. I got a, what's it called? YouTube channel. Word. I got a SoundCloud page. All that stuff that you can get the show on as well. Speaking of my YouTube situation, found out that you can stream, video stream. So I'm gonna try that out next week. I'm gonna try to perfect it between now and over the weekend, and make sure it's something that I can handle. Because I only got 2 hands, and as I look around the room here, nobody else here, just me. No producer on the other side of the glass. There is no glass, so thus there is no other side of it. So I'm going to try to work that out logistically or whatnot, and get that popping as well next week. We're going to holler at Branson Wright. We didn't get a chance to do it today. He had something come up that he needed to take care of, and he's going to be kind of locked up for the rest of the week here. So next week we'll talk to him after this Brown situation. We'll see if whatever that kid's name is that came from the Rams, Austin Davis, if he can make it through the game, and if he doesn't, they have to, that's the part. That's the other thing about this whole Cleveland Browns thing. It's like he's putting them in a position where, he's one snap away from putting them in a position where they have to play him. You know what I mean? God. And Mike Pettin, for what I understand, was not on board with the whole draft Johnny Manziel situation. So, kind of by proxy, he's linked to him without even wanting to be linked. Him, Ray Farmer, they're linked to this kid when apparently I think the owner, the news was, or the assumption has always been that the owner wanted this to happen and told them to make it happen. However they need to make it happen, make it happen. The same thing as happened here with Julio Jones with the Atlanta Falcons when the Falcons moved up to draft Julio Jones, ironically trading with the Cleveland Browns. And so now I think that's one of the things that got Mike Smith fired from here. Which, by the way, speaking of, let's go ahead and get into that real quick. This Atlanta Falcons situation, Dan Quinn. First of all, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you'll be happy to know that it looks like Devontae Freeman, your starting running back, which keep reminding you guys who wasn't your starting running back initially. He's actually looks like he's out of the concussion protocol, and he'll play this week against Tampa Bay, which is a good thing. Something to take that pressure off of Matt Ryan as much as possible. You know what I mean? Because he hadn't been playing well, and as someone who is a bit of a Matt Ryan apologist, and you want to know why? This is why. Because my city was going in a direction that it didn't need to go in, and like that stuff that happened in Cleveland the other day, like this was close to being that. Very, very, and I don't think many people understand or even want to remember that time where this was going to be a very, very bad situation, for lack of a better word, just bad. You know what I mean? If that Matt Ryan thing didn't work out, because remember this, there were 3 quarterbacks in that draft, right? Miami and Parcells at the time, it was Bill Parcells pulling the trigger on their draft. He decided to go with the safe pick, the Jake Long pick, who very ironically is now an Atlanta Falcon anyway. But Bill Parcells took him in Miami. He ended up playing well, a couple Pro Bowls down there. But, it's a left tackle. It's kind of the order wasn't right. Of course, you get the safe pick, and at the time, quarterbacks were still getting paid a lot of money, so there was a risk of the holdout, and he told the dude, this is how much we're going to pay you. You know what I mean? Left tackle. And it was no negotiation. There was no holdout or anything like that. The money was the money, and it happened. They locked up the first overall pick in the draft. Then he ended up in St. Louis. Didn't really work out there. And now he's in Atlanta. But had Parcells done something that later on he said he regretted doing or not doing, had he done that, and that being taking Matt Ryan, the other person on the Falcons board was the defensive tackle, Glenn Dorsey. It wasn't Jake Long, it was Glenn Dorsey. Glenn Dorsey ended up going to Kansas City, following his Kansas City run. He's now, after a couple injuries, he's in San Francisco. Nice career, but not a Matt Ryan career. Matt Ryan at the time, a guy who people questioned his decision making, his arm strength, like all the all the things that you're seeing this year were the questions he faced coming out of Boston College 9 years ago. So it was him. I think Matt Ryan was a 4-year starter. He was a 3 or 4 year starter at Boston College. He had the 4-year starter at the University of Michigan in Chad Henne, Chad Henne ended up in Miami too. Miami used their second pick with Chad Henne. So they felt like they were going to get their left tackle. Remember Cleveland did that same thing when they got Joe Thomas, then came back and got Brady Quinn. Like, that draft wasn't going to work out for anybody quarterback-wise. Jamarcus Russell went to the Raiders. It was like Brady Quinn. And I think the only other real quarterback was Chris Leak. Chris Leaf? What is his name? Chris Leak, the kid from Florida that Tim Tebow. Remember they shared time and won that national championship? So, okay. It was Matt Ryan, and then there was Joe Flacco, the kid who I think Joe Flacco started at Pittsburgh but ended up at Delaware. So, small-time school, kid with all the physical tools, big, strong, strappy, huge arm guy, but he played at Delaware, the Babbling Ducks or whatever they're called, Mighty Hens. Sorry. If you went to Delaware, I apologize. I don't really mean it, but whatever. He went and played with the Mighty Hens, didn't play the same level of talent as the other two guys. So with all of Thomas Dimitroff's scouting and all these things, they felt like Matt Ryan was the guy. It really was Matt Ryan or Glenn Dorsey. Not really knowing if Parcells and the Dolphins were going to take Matt Ryan with the first pick. So when they didn't, the Falcons had their guy, and they needed that guy. and they needed him to work out. Remember this, for all the people who was like, I'm sure I would have rather had Joe Flacco. The Ravens didn't even want Joe Flacco, not in the capacity that he ended up being in. They had Troy Smith there. They had the other kid from Louisville. I can't think of his name right now. But they both end up getting injured. That's how Joe Flacco became the starter. Matt Ryan was going to start as soon as that pen hit the paper to sign his contract. As soon as they turned the card in at the draft, he was going to be the starter here. So the reason that I'm such a Matt Ryan apologist, even not being a Falcons fan, but being a member of this community, man, I like it when there's a buzz. There's a positive buzz here. When the Hawks are good, when the Braves are good, when the Falcons are good, there's always an increase in ATL pride. You know what I mean? Like we're already a prideful people, but and it goes overboard. I'm gonna say that, especially with the Falcons fans, it goes overboard. Like the team starts 5-0, everybody else team ain't crap. But now you lose, 5 out of the last 6. Yeah, it's crickets everywhere, right? Yeah. So, and I'm always talking about tempered enthusiasm. Let the team actually accomplish something. Don't get mad at people who cheer for teams that actually have won championship rings, even if they haven't been good in a while. The Cowboys or the 49ers, which I don't know. The 49ers went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Colin Kaepernick just kind of fell off the cliff, and Jim Harbaugh moved on, and people retired and got hurt and all kind of stuff. But they hadn't been bad for a long time. But now you're looking at like teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hadn't won a championship in 2000, I think it was. So yeah, if those people, if like the Buccaneers are still talking about at least we got a ring, yeah, as a Falcons fan, don't be mad, because if you won one in '69, you'd still be talking about it now. It's the fact that you don't have one, or your team didn't win one ever. It makes it easier for you to be like, so? I used to work with a guy who was a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. At the time, I was a big Cowboys fan. And he would always talk about, how bad the Cowboys are. And I was like, and I used to always be like, because the Eagles have won how many championships? Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Just to get out of the conversation. Because the one thing I never understood was like the people who are fans, right? That come across as though they hate other people's teams more than they like or love their own team. You know what I mean? Like when I was a fan of a team in football, I didn't care unless my team was playing your team. I didn't care, or unless like whoever the Vikings are playing, the Falcons need them to lose. You know what I mean? So with that being said, yeah, I get it. With that being said, the Falcons need, I'm going to tell you who the Vikings are playing right now. I can't stand that. The Seahawks, right? So they need the Seahawks to win. And they need to win themselves, obviously, to move back into the playoffs. Well, then, of course, yeah, then you want to, you cheer then for or against a team. But, when it doesn't matter, just to be in a conversation and have barbershop talk or whatever, I can pass. I used to work in a barbershop growing up. And like while it's fun and funny, not a whole lot of intelligent things are said. I used to be a kid sweeping up hair. That little kid that's just sitting in a chair with a broom waiting for his chance to get up and do his job. That was me. I don't even know if they have those anymore. These damn kids. God, man, they're such buttholes. Most of them. And I got one here. I got a teenager here with me. And anyway. So yeah. And it's such a big game. Speaking of the playoffs, it's such a big game for the Falcons and for the Buccaneers. It's a bigger game for the Falcons though, because you lose this game, you now switch places with the Buccaneers, and you have lost the season series, which means any tiebreakers when this thing is all said and done, if they come into play, you've already lost the first one, head-to-head matchup. Yeah, so it's important. It's a very, very important thing for them to win. As well, here's what's funny, And I don't know if you guys, Falcons fans out there, should be alarmed by this, but the Falcons did that whole players only meeting thing today. And in my experience in watching football and paying attention, those things happen when the coach's message isn't getting through, or when your complaints or the things that you're voicing are falling on deaf ears when you do bring them to the coach's attention. This dude is in his first year. Dan Quinn is in his first year. Like, usually the message gets old over time. If you're already at that point, there's a problem. You know, you just, like, if you're the Falcons, you got to think maybe we just hired Gus Bradley. Yeah. Anybody want to tell me what the last thing is the Jaguars have won? And I'll, hang up and take your answer off the air. Yeah, exactly. I warned about this, man. Just because someone's a part of something successful doesn't mean it's like Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. Yeah, that group was hot, right? And then Beyonce went off and did her thing, did it huge. Kelly, a little bit less, but still relevant. And then there's Michelle. And then there's that. You feel me? Like, some people are just, their lack of whatever it may be, whether it be talent or skill or whatever it may be, is sometimes masked by the things around them. And I don't know that's the case with Dan Quinn. I mean, we're only, 12 weeks in so far. So I don't know that to be the actual case, but I'm just saying, man, just keep this in mind the next time, even with this guy, the next time you're so adamant about change, get him out of here. Oh, he sucks. The next time you're that way, slow down and push away from the table a little bit and calm yourself and understand that what's next may not always be what's better. Again, the jury's still out on this guy, but the Falcons are apparently, per D. Orlando Ledbetter, they're having players only meetings, and Dan Quinn's response is, quote, "Honestly, I was jacked they did it. Some coaches might be uptight. I'm just the opposite. I guess it means I've been part of it where that's been really effective," end quote. He goes on to say, quote, "Probably if you have to do it 2 or 3 times, sometimes that can be a catalyst and a spark. Yeah, sometimes it can mean we don't give a damn what you say, coach. We're going to get together and figure out what we want to do." Yeah. And those answers will come on Sunday. Sunday at 1, I think. Yes. Sunday at 1 o'clock. We will find out what came out of these players only meetings with the Atlanta Falcons. This is One Mic with Big Mike. I'm Big Mike. We got about another, 12 minutes or so left in this segment before we close up shop in the next segment. I want to get to my Atlanta Hawks here, or my Atlanta Hawks. Look at me. I didn't mean to say it that way. Don't forget, we're on Spreaker. You guys can sign up for your free Spreaker account. It is free. And once you do that, search for my show, the number 1, MIC, WITHBIGMIKE. Give me a follow. And when I'm broadcasting Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m., you guys can join the conversation via the interactive chat room. It is live and interactive. I can see what you guys are typing, what you're typing to each other. If you got any questions for me, I can see all that stuff. To get into the chat room, there's a little thought bubble bouncing around at the bottom of the screen. You just click that, and you'll be part of the show. Now, the Atlanta Hawks last night, after a great win and a great effort by both Jeff Teague and Paul Millsap, the Atlanta Hawks came out last night and they just looked bad. Well, they started looking good. They were up by 17 points at one point, and they end up losing by 10. A 27-point turnaround. The catalyst, Kyle Lowry, 22 points in the 4. He was doing everything he wanted to Kent Bazemore and Jeff Teague Why was I about to call him Jeff Green and Jeff Teague? It was something to behold. The fact that the Hawks defense just let them down. They didn't shoot the ball well, obviously, because I'm saying they only had 86 points in the fourth quarter. The Raptors outscored them 39-20. And like I said, the majority, 22 of those points, more than half, plus another one that he assisted on, were made by Kyle Lowry. And it's a funny thing to watch a team that can be so Jekyll and Hyde. Before last night, the Hawks were one of the highest scoring second half teams in the league. Not so much anymore. And as I mentioned earlier, the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant, will be in the building on Friday. It's probably going to be, I don't know how many times they play the Lakers. I think it's the only one, hopefully. I don't think it is because I don't know, but I'm hoping it is. And I only have to see this Kobe situation one time. And it's not me hating on Kobe. I said this before on this show. I like to watch good sports. I like to watch, like, my sports. I demand that they be entertaining. You know what I mean? Especially if there's a choice involved. Like in this situation, because every day I do, I talk about the local teams here as well as, in the midst of talking about the national headlines, I give the local teams time every day on the show. So for that reason, the Hawks sometimes force me to watch bad sports. Like the Falcons have been forcing me to watch bad football. You know what I mean? I wonder if I can get some money back on my NFL Red Zone if I don't watch it as much. Probably not, because Comcast sucks balls, huge ones too. But whatever. So yeah, they got Swaggy, who, by the way, got benched last night, and some people think Byron Scott benched this dude because he called Kobe Bryant's retirement situation a clown show. And Nick Young is a guy who's gonna be that guy. He wants the attention. Like when Paul Gasol was out there, and I guess they, at the end of the season, they do an address to the fans and a thank you to the fans or whatever. He did it, and someone asked him about why he did it and not Paul Gasol, because Paul hadn't, he was going to be a free agent that summer, but he played the whole season, and he was probably the most accomplished guy on the team. And Swaggy P said, or Nick Young said, because I'm the star around here. Like, very, very just outlandishly said, like, I'm the star. And the same way he says, I'm the best two guard on this on this basketball team. Like, that's not, I don't think that's a ruse or a shtick. I think that's who and what he is and what he believes. You know what I mean? But to be benched for that, I don't know. It's weird. You know what I mean? Like, he's always had this thing where he felt like he was in some sort of competition with Kobe. Young man, you got many, many a year. Kobe's done it for 20, for 19, this being the 20th. You got some time to go. I know LA is your town, and you went to high school. You from there. You went to SC, and now you play for the Lakers. All right, sweet, good. I guess. No one cares. So we'll see if the Hawks can bounce back. What the Hawks are looking for now, consistency. A consistent, that consistency we saw last year. And I'm not talking about just going a month without losing the game. That's out of this world stuff. But what I'm talking about is in wins and losses, I guess essentially looking like the same team. You know what I mean? Just looking like that team that shares the basketball, that helps each other on defense. The Hawks right now, I'm looking at their this computer won't freeze up on me. I'm trying to look for their actual record right now. The Hawks are now 12-9, and guess what? Behind the Miami Heat, which would put them where guys like Charles Barkley had predicted. The Hawks are now the 6th seed, behind, of course, Cleveland and Indiana. Paul effing George, you understand, has come back off that broken leg and, balling. to the point. Who was that? Michael Wilbon said Indiana's the best team in the East. Yeah, they're percentage points behind Cleveland, only because they have the same amount of losses at 5, but Indiana has one less win. So they're a couple of percentage ticks away from Chicago. But yeah, man, Paul George is that dude. I mean, at least to this point, he's that guy. But yeah, you're looking at the Falcons, the Hawks, sitting there, just kind of toiling around in that 6th spot. Where last year, what were they? The number 1 seed, man. So it's going to be interesting. We're like a quarter of the way through the season, so we still got, obviously, in American math, 3 quarters left. So we'll see. I don't know if there's anything to be too concerned about. The 3-ball hasn't been as prolific as it was last year, except for the fact that Al Horford is shooting like way too many. I don't know the number, but I would guess somewhere around 5 a night, 4 or 5 a night that he's shooting. I've expressed my concerns about this from the beginning of the season. I don't know. In the college game, Georgia Tech apparently lost a recruit because he and his mom feel like they were racially profiled at the Georgia game. They were sitting in the section where all the recruits were sitting at. The kid had a lanyard that was supposed to be good around his neck for he and his mom to sit there, and the security came up and escorted them out, told them they couldn't be there. My thing is, like, you're Georgia Tech. You're not that broke. You couldn't get 2 lanyards? Like, mom couldn't have one too? Like, why is it like 1 lanyard for 2 people? But apparently the security people told them that it looked like they forged the lanyards, the passes to be sitting there. So it's weird. And my man's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to Georgia Tech. Big kid, big lineman, defensive or offensive lineman, I'm not sure. But, yeah, Georgia Tech just lost that kid, and they're trying to do damage control on that whole racial profiling angle of the story, saying it didn't happen that way. Doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't matter. Yeah, that's pretty bad press for a school and a sport that pretty much thrives on the backs of young black men. You know what I mean? Especially as hypersensitive as the country and the society is now about, racism and stuff. Good luck, Georgia Tech. And finally, down in Athens, Kirby Smart is set to be announced as the new head coach, former Alabama defensive coordinator. He also, at one point, DJ Shockley told us this, he was the running backs coach when they won the SEC championship. So a guy with ties to the program. He played at Georgia. He's from Bainbridge, I believe. So looks to be he's one of the hotter names every year. Every year he's one of the hotter names to become a head coach, and now he has taken on that responsibility. And for the people in Athens and all the UGA fans around me, I hope it works out. Please wipe your tears right now from Mark Richt as well. He has been announced he will be announced as the new head coach of the University of Miami, his alma mater, in which he primarily backed up Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer Jim Kelly at the University of Miami. So he'll go down there, try to take advantage of those fertile recruiting grounds and get that program back to a respectable place, at least at first, because Miami was way more than respectable when they were the U. That thing was dominant. You know what I mean? It was real stuff going on there. He's got a nice quarterback, the Kaya kid. Is that Felicia's boy? The chick that played Felicia in Friday, is that the kid that's her boy? I need to look that up. So yeah, big up to Mark Richt, big up to the University of Georgia, University of Miami. We'll see. We have months and months and months because obviously now Mark Richt will not be coaching this team. Remember, he told them, I want to spend as much time with you guys as I can. Well, not so much. He will not be coaching in the bowl game. After taking the job in Miami, I guess the people in UGA got hurt feelings because he's not going to stay around and be a administrator as a lot of people thought he might have. And he's going back to his alma mater. He wants to keep coaching. So good for him. If you don't have to stop, then don't. He's 55, I think. Yeah, he's still relatively in a good pocket. Like Nick Saban is 10 years older than him and winning championships. So there's that. We'll come back. We'll get through the NFL. We got Thursday night football tonight, Lions and Packers. We'll talk a little bit about that and about this whole BS conversation about no one knows what the catch is. We'll do that next right here on One Mic with Big Mike.
You must have thrown 1,000 pitches teaching him to hit a home run. Spent countless Saturdays running routes so he could learn to hit an open receiver. Endless afternoons teaching him how to hit the three-pointer. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit? Teaching boys that all violence against women is wrong is one of the most important things a man can do. Learn how to start the conversation at teachearly.org. Brought to you by Futures Without Violence and the Ad Council.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Lost y'all mind. Make you. Ooh-wee. Throwback Thursday right here on One Mic with Big Mike. I'm Big Mike. Look, Kilo Ali. Shout out to the ATL. A-Town, stand up. That's old school right there. That's right in my pocket. You understand? Being heard right here on Spreaker.com and the Spreaker app. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm here Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m., live and direct. Also, when I'm done doing a live show, all shows will be posted on my Spreaker page, my Spreaker app, so you can take them with you. Download them. You can stream them. You can also stream them from SoundCloud and YouTube. My Twitter, my Instagram, I'm always posting updates on the show on Facebook as well. My Twitter, my Instagram are One Mike with Big Mike, the number 1, MIC, WITHBIGMIKE, and my Facebook.com /ONE MIC WITHBIGMIKE. Y'all mind, and it make me cry. I mean, y'all done lost y'all mind. Oh boy, let me cut this down so I can finish the show. I've been listening to this whole song and found the album somewhere. All right, some White Horse, all that. Riding a white horse. Anyway, did y'all see this thing about Tiger Woods? And it's absolutely hilarious to me. And the reason it is, I'll tell you what it is in a second, but the reason it's so hilarious to me is because his situation, how do I want it? Indirectly, if I can say it in my native tongue of English, led to my firing at at the station I was formerly at, 92.9 The Game here in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was a conversation we were having about the whole situation with he and his ex-wife, Elin, and how he got caught up with all those women. I was going to say all them hoes, but they weren't all hoes. I think some of them were like regular women. Some of them were like porn stars, which, that falls into the whole category, I think. You know what I mean? That, it's like he said, garden tools, shears, and, lawnmower and hose right there up under your garden tools. Okay, so anyway, he did an interview. They did an article on him in Time Magazine, and he talks about the relationship with he and his ex-wife now, and the things that happened in the past. And Tiger says he strongly regrets lying to his ex-wife about all the cheating back in the day. He says now she's quote unquote one of my best friends. See, and this was always my issue with it. It wasn't what he did. And women, you can back me on this. Like, forgiving a dude is a lot easier. Like, if you're going to forgive him, it's easier when it's between you and him. You know what I mean? When you're not embarrassed. Like, that's like one of the worst things you can do. Like, dudes think the worst thing you can do is like cheat or lie or whatever. No. The worst thing you can do is like when her friends find out that you cheated. Because then you're not just fighting a one-on-one battle anymore. You're fighting the battle with her and all her lonely, fat, miserable friends. Yeah, I'm not wrong about that. But in his case, it's not just her friends, it's everyone. Like, I went to the grocery store one time, true story. And, you know, I picked up a magazine while I'm sitting in line. It was around the time the Tiger Woods stuff happened. And so I put it back. And she's like, oh, that Tiger Woods, I can't stand him. This is a black woman. I can't stand him. That's what he get for not claiming he black. Wait a minute, ma'am. And I wasn't going to get into it with her because I'm trying to get my stuff and leave. You know what I mean? And in my neighborhood, stuff like that can escalate fast. You know, in this neck of the woods here. So, you know, but my thought was, why does he have to? Like, why does he have to identify himself only with the side of him that is black? His mom's not black. She's Asian. So should he just disrespect her culture? Like, that whole, like, black people, we didn't come up with that. That whole, if you got one drop of blood in you, that means you're black. We didn't come up with that foolishness. Guess what? Yeah, that's all a part of that whole slave and, you know, mixed races and all that. That's that Jim Crow, all that stuff. And, like, we've decided that we're going to adopt it like it's our own. People posting on Facebook, you know, this is what's wrong with our race and putting pictures of athletes and their wives. Look, man, happiness. That's it. You know what I mean? Your happiness. Like, the only thing I might have a problem with, if a dude just says, like, exclusive, like some black dude said, I don't deal with no black women. Well, but your mom and your sister, and I'm sure you got maybe aunties, or like, what does that say about them? Like, if you fall in love with a white girl or Asian girl or whatever, that's what it is. You know, that's where your happiness lies. That's just where it is. You know what I mean? But to be a part of something and exclude that part of yourself is the same thing I was saying about Tiger Woods. I don't think it's right for him to just say, I'm a black man. Damn the Asian part of me. No. You're a sum of a couple of different things. And it's not like one of those things where somebody can say to me, well, if that's true, you can go way, way back in history. I'm sure you got some white folks in your family. Okay, maybe. But we're talking about the woman who raised him. You know what I mean? You know, not my slave owning step granddaddy from, you know, way, way back that just had his way with my great grandmama. No, that's ridiculous. Anyway, back to Tiger. Because I got to tell you guys how he led to my firing. So he goes on to tell Time magazine that if he could change anything about what happened in 2009, wow, that was that long ago, huh? That, quote, it would be having more open, honest relationship with my ex-wife, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, having the relationship that I have now with her is fantastic. She's one of my best friends. We're able to pick up the phone and we talk to each other all the time. We both know the most important things in our lives are our kids. I wish I would have known that back then, end quote. So then he was asked if he would have done anything differently. He says, quote, when it comes down to it, right down to it, it's just having a more open, honest relationship with my ex-wife when we were married, end quote. Quote, our frustrations would have come out if we had talked about it and been open and honest with each other, which we are now. And it's absolutely fantastic, end quote. Now, I want to point something out to you guys. And then it kind of will get me to the point at which I was fired. Because my whole contention with the whole thing was he was an idiot anyway for things going down and going down so horribly. You know what I mean? It was totally his fault. And not for the ladies, not for the reason that you might be saying, duh, of course it's his fault. No. He's Tiger Woods, right? Ma'am, wifey, I met you on the golf course. Like, we didn't just bump into each other at Kroger or at Publix. No, you was there for a reason, the same way all these other broads have been there for a reason, because of who I am and what I do. Now, here's the other thing. And this is what I actually said that caused some of my I don't know, that added some fuel to that fire that was burning towards me and my firing. Well, firing. Yeah. I was like, look, it's got to be an understanding here. I'm Tiger Woods. I got billions of dollars. I think Tiger Woods is over that $1 billion threshold, right? The only question you need to have for me is not who I'm banging, is pretty much who I'm not banging. You know what I mean? And because I said banging, you know, people who were actually banging people at our job, which they shouldn't have been, subordinates, and wanting to be extra righteous, then apparently saying banging was a lot worse than actually doing it. Another story. Well, I'll complete the story on another day, but this is what he's saying in this article to me, because at no point, I just read it to you, at no point did he say if he could have done anything wrong, like I wouldn't have banged 20-something women behind my wife's back. What he's saying is, yeah, I should have just been honest with her. Quote, it would have been, no, excuse me. I'm trying to look for the quote. It would be having a more open, honest relationship with my ex-wife. That's all. He's just saying I should have just realized who I am and told her. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Tiger. He's learning, though. It looks like he's learning. But what it sounds like, too, is like there's some reconciliation going on. And here's the thing with Tiger. Because I'm looking at a picture of this broad right now. She's a strong 6, maybe 6.5. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't no dime that I'm looking at here. This is, yeah, you know, whatever. I don't know, man. Weirdness. Anyway, but while I'm there, let's go to, before I start talking about this NFL stuff, I don't know if you guys remember Oscar Pistorius. He's the guy who sprinted in the Olympics but he don't have any legs. He had like the I don't know what they're called. He had false legs, right? And there was a big deal made out of it. He ran, but he sucked. He was bad at it and whatever. But it was a big deal, right? Prosthetics that's the word I was looking for. He has prosthetic legs. And then on Valentine's Day a few years ago, he decided he wanted to murder his girlfriend. You know, she went to the bathroom in the middle of the night. He went and got his gun and shot her through the door. Well, initially, he was charged with some sort of minor offense. Well, not really minor, but it wasn't murder. You understand? They put him in jail. He ended up being found guilty. Put him in jail for like 5 years. This dude got paroled after 12 months. Well, at the beginning of the show, I told you guys there was some good news that actually came out of South Africa, and that's where he is, and that's where this tragedy happened a few years back. Well, he had to appear in front of an appellate, not even appellate court. Well, he was in appellate court, but there's like a panel, like 4 or 5 people panel that he had to appear in front of. Yeah, and he gave this dude a murder beef behind that, which he should have gotten anyway. He hadn't been sentenced yet, but it's sure to be more than the little PA sentence he got the first time. So that's always good. Like, there's no way in hell people should be able to do stuff like that and not be punished for it. And under the guise of saying, oh, well, I thought it was a burglar. No, you didn't. You didn't think it was no damn burglar. You wanted to kill this chick, and you took the opportunity, and you shot her like 1,000,000 times through a closed bathroom door. Idiot. Take your ass to jail, and I hope the Voodoo Warrior have fun with you while you're there. And if you don't know who the Voodoo Warrior, I'm not going to do it. I got a drop from the Voodoo Warrior, but you can just look it up online. You can look it up on the Google machine, and you'll find old. I can't remember his name now, to be honest with you. I can't remember his name. Like Rob knows him. My former co-host Rob. He knows his name very well. Not because, anyway, whatever. Anyway, so back to the NFL now. Let's move on to the NFL. We got Monday night. We have Thursday night football tonight. The Lions and the Packers. The Packers, again, is why I tell people here in Atlanta, zoom out and realize what's happening around the NFL. Like, look at Peyton Manning, even Aaron Rodgers, man. At the beginning of the season, his backup, I think, was comparing him to Michael Jordan. So he's the Michael Jordan of football. And I was on some like, okay, maybe I can see that because of how easy sometimes the game looks to Aaron Rodgers. Not so much anymore. You know what I mean? They came off the bye week, and they're like 1-3 after their bye. Meanwhile, the Lions, after firing every damn body except Jim Caldwell, has they got their offensive coordinator has such a redneck name, and people have been saying it all damn day, and I can't remember. It's like Jim Bob Culver or something stupid like that. But anyway, they've been trending up. Calvin Johnson looks like he's caught some sort of Adrian Peterson second win. Speaking of, I'll save that comment for later. Yeah, because it was going to be linked to the thing I just said, and I don't want to do that. But anyway, so they seem to be trending upward. The running game looks to be cool. Like I say, Matthew Stafford is throwing the ball to the right guys now. And while we're sitting there kind of worried about the Atlanta Falcons down here in Georgia, the Packers have to do as well. They've had their all players only meeting as well. So yeah, things are. And then Aaron Rodgers coming out in the media talking about people not being as prepared as maybe they should be. There's here it is. Jim Bob Cooter. Jim Bob Cooter is their new offense. That can't even be a real thing, man. Damn that, because like he's got to do something better than that. Like if he's got like a middle name, maybe. I found this out in college. Like I went to a predominantly white school, like in the middle of the country, like where I know plenty of people had been lynched at one point in history, but whatever. But I found out in the land of white people that if your name is like, I don't know, like Beth Ann Williams, right? That the whole time I would think, I thought the name was like Beth Ann, like BETHANN or BETH-ANNE or something like that. But apparently, no. There's a middle name. The middle name is Ann, and then the last name is Williams. So it's actually three separate names. But, the white people I was around, it just went by like Beth Ann. And it was weird. Our at the time, he was our backup quarterback. His fiance's name was Beth Ann. And one day we were all out eating, and she was right there with him. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm so surprised. Of course, she was with him. She's his fiance. But he was like, "Yeah, guess what, dude? When we get married, her name is gonna be Beth Ann Swallows." And I didn't laugh immediately because like that happens differently if Grant. Her fiance is a black dude and she's a black woman. That conversation I just got through saying, you just can't go around embarrassing your woman in public. You feel me? But she laughed, and when I saw her laugh, then I laughed because I thought it was funny as hell. And then I'm a child, and I was then, and I am now. So, Jim Bob Cooter. The thing we were going to talk to Branson about, we were going to talk to him about Branson Wright from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, by the way. We were going to talk to him about Johnny Manziel and the situation up in Cleveland. And, like, if you're still calling this dude Johnny Football, stop. Like, I'm even at the point now where I'm kind of set on calling this dude, like, Jonathan. Call him, like, his full government situation. Like, Jonathan, whatever, Michael Manziel. I don't know what his middle name is. I'm just making crap up, but yeah, because that thing it seems like it's dead, man. Like now, like Adam Schefter is like kind of like, you know how they do, just start throwing stuff out there like, well, what if he ends up with the Cowboys? What if? You know, his main problem isn't partying or going to Vegas. It's the fact that coupled with those things, he's not playing good football. Like, whenever you got to tell me, I mean, the couple times he started, he played pretty well. Okay. It was one game, he completed like 8 passes out of something like 20-something, you know, and like 2 of them went for touchdowns. You know, one of those, I'm Johnny Manziel. Watch me throw it up in the air and let some dude make an amazing play. I don't consider that good quarterback play. Because you know who doesn't do that? The good quarterbacks. You know, they read defenses and dissect people. Oh, like Tom Brady. Speaking of old Thomas Brady, he's crying about rule changes now. Because last week Gronkowski got hurt because he got hit low. Like, you just got, like, the thing that you covet and that's so good to you, I understand why you would want to protect it, but be sensible, dude. This dude is like 6'7", 260 pounds. There's no hitting him high. And he's a lot faster, I believe, because no one ever seems to catch him. So he's a lot faster than maybe you would think somebody that size would be. So Tom Brady's like, the NFL needs to look into this. You know, they protect quarterbacks' legs and they protect linemen's legs. Well, for the most part, quarterbacks in a vulnerable position. And for a lineman, dudes are diving at the side. They're trying to get cut off blocks backside and they're diving at the side of their legs purposely. That's why that would be happening. But for Tom Brady, I mean, for Gronkowski, like, what the hell are we talking about? Like, then where? Where do you want dudes just going out there getting embarrassed? Or hurt. You start trying to hit this dude up high, and he's running at you full speed with all of that 4.6. It's going to be a problem, man. You might as well go try to stop somebody's Bentley with your body then. You might as well just do that and end the career that way. At least you might get an insurance settlement behind it. Yeah, Brady's he's ridiculous for this. This article is in ESPN. This is an ESPN article. Tom Brady hopes the NFL will consider rule changes for low hits on pass catchers. He says, quote, like I just mentioned, quarterbacks get their legs protected. Defensive linemen get their legs protected. Linebackers get their legs protected. How? Anyway, continuing the quote, I don't see why defenseless receivers shouldn't get his legs protected as well, end quote. Yeah, you're only saying that because you're a guy. It happened to your guy. But it happened to Kellen Winslow a couple years ago. It happened to a bunch of dudes. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you hollering this crap out then. But, you know, and then too, the question wasn't even asked to him to explain that. They were talking about the responsibility of quarterbacks putting their receivers in these crazy positions. I remember a couple years ago, I talked to a guy named Ellis Hobbs who played corner for the Philadelphia Eagles. And this was around the time where Deshaun Jackson and what's that boy's name? What was that boy's name? The kid he went to the University of South Carolina, played Dante Robinson, right? And he ended up like almost murdering Deshaun Jackson on the football field. And I made the point, Kevin Kolb was the quarterback, and I made the point that what responsibility do those two dudes have? Because Dante Robinson is playing his assignment. They're playing a zone defense where the corners are rolled up towards the line of scrimmage in the flat. If you remember the play, Deshaun Jackson has come from the other side of the field running a drag. Now, if he, as the receiver, is reading the defense right, you know what you do in the zone? Everybody knows it because they talk about it at halftime on all the color guys, the Chris Collinsworths, and you know all the guys who do color in the NFL, Troy Aikman and these guys. They talk about it. You sit down in the zone. Well, Deshaun Jackson continues to run. He's running through the zone because he's afraid of the middle of the field, so he's trying to get to the sideline as quick as possible. Well, that's happening at the same time that Kevin Kolb, who ironically is in the league because of too many concussion and because he's bad at quarterback too, he throws the ball and he leads his wide. He doesn't throw it where the kid has to stop and throttle down. He leads him into the squat corner There's ball. Can I catch it? Like, everything is happening at one time. Do I try to catch it, or do I try to keep him from catching it? And simultaneously, he's doing both. And he ended up like ripping. Both of them got knocked out. He's the one that ended up being fined. So I asked Alex Thomas about this. He was like, "Yeah, Deshaun, my teammate, but I would have killed his ass too." Yeah. And so the point is, as catch, pass throwers, you can't continue to do